Good afternoon, FlossTube. It's Caroline in Leeds in West Yorkshire. I'm back for FlossTube 39. It's Saturday afternoon, it's the 9th of November, and I thought I'd better jump on before I got to the end of my holidays and hadn't actually got round to recording. I had meant to do it before this, but my head just hasn't been in the right space. As I said before, my name's Caroline. This is a channel, today will be mostly about cross stitch, but occasionally it's also about knitting, quilting, very occasionally reading. I don't think I've spoken about my books for quite a while now. On my last FlossTube I did say I might try and vlog over September and October, but I was just up to my eyeballs at work. The first half term of the academic year is one of my busiest, so I just didn't get around to it. When I did have a few minutes, I wanted to sit down with my stitching and not play around with the cameras quite so much, so I'm afraid that didn't happen. What else has been happening? I've had a few shout outs from people, which I'm very grateful for. Thank you to Narissa, who is certainly the one I caught, and there was a few people shouting me out on Instagram as well. I'm sorry I didn't take note of your names, but I'm very, very grateful. I've had a few new subscribers, which was nice. Not that I pay much attention to the numbers. If I paid attention to the numbers, I'd have stopped a long time ago. But so yeah, so if you're new here, please hang around. Please subscribe, like, comment. It's nice to have you here, and welcome back to anyone who's a returning watcher. I really appreciate those of you who come every time, because I'm not the most regular of FlossTubers. Life has a nasty habit of getting in the way. However, I have coffee. I've been on a lovely holiday to Greece. I will add some photos at the end. We mostly did this for my daughter because she's studying A-level classics and she wants to go on to classics at university, so we had to go and have a look at the highlights of classical Greece. So we've been to the Acropolis and Delphi, amongst other places, which was very nice, but I'm a little archaeologist. I'm a bit antiquited out now. I say I'll put some photos in the end of our trip to Greece. The best bit was just seeing some sunshine. It has been so grey and miserable here, especially this last week. I think that's why I couldn't motivate myself to record, because I was just like, having come back. Our guide was very much, when we'd all walk down, we'd all be in t-shirts because it was very pleasant, early 20s, 21, 22 degrees, and she'd be in a jumper going, "Are you guys not cold?" And we're like, no, it's warmer than it's been most of the summer. So anyway, I say I'll put some photos at the end. But you're not here to hear me rabbit about my holiday, you're here to see some stitching. So I'm going to do this more chronologically than I normally do, just because I have so much to go through. So we shall go back to August, which was when I last recorded. No, we will start with my focus piece and then we'll go on to August, so you can see, because I'm almost finished with my focus piece, which is currently Glastonbury Garden by Lauren Sauer of Forget Me Nots in Stitches. I took this class with Lauren back in 2012, so it's well overdue a finish, and I'm almost there. So my focus piece is the only piece I set myself goals for. I have to do a certain amount every month just because I want to get it finished. So I've been working on the pockets, but first off, if you've not seen it before, it's a sewing case. So I stitched the outsides of, this is the outside of the case panel, this is the inside panel. Now I did certainly most of the outside before I took the class in 2012, and then I've just been occasionally working my way at some of the other stuff. So, and I had about half the pockets done when I picked this back up. So I think I had that one to finish, which I think I did in August. So September's was this long narrow one down the bottom. No, August was this long narrow one down the bottom. September and October with these pockets, which are going to be sort of 3D, sort of I'll show you on the picture of these pockets here that have a gusset underneath. So yeah, so that's the main stitching on the case finished. This is all being stitched on, it's linen I got in my stash, I'm not sure what count it is anymore, and it's all sampler threads, using Tropical Ocean, Spring Green is the really bright green, Mistletoe's the darker green on here, Evergreen for this back stitching, there's a couple of other colours as well. But when I was going through the kit, I discovered I'd purchased an extra little small that went with it that Lauren had designed. So here we are. It's going to be a scissor rest, so you just embroider the back and the front. So I've got the one side done, that was November's, and then I'll do the second side for December, which is exactly the same, just with the dating, and then I will be done with this one, apart from the finishing obviously, which it'll go in the queue of the large projects I have to finish, assemble, sewing cases I can assemble. I'm assembling one at the minute that I finished back in 2020, the C.A. Wells three-sided reticule, if any of you remember that far back in my videos. And next year I will be finishing Fruits of the Vine, so Glastonbury Garden will have to wait till after that. But I'm really pleased to be 1 month away from finishing the stitching side of this piece. That is going to feel really, really good. So as I started saying, we'll go back to August and I'll do what I was working on in each month, just because I've got so much. So when I last recorded, I was one of my August pieces I was working on, this is a Whipgo piece. It is Old Colonial Designs, a Needlework Garden and Needlebook. So I can't remember where I was when I showed it to you last time, and so I'm not sure how much else I got done, but I'm probably at about the halfway point now on this, on the bit that goes in the bottom of the box. I do have the box. I bought it when it came out in 2005, so it's been kitted up in my stash since then, so this is one reason I'd like to get it done. What I do know that in August I got all the alphabet done, the little creatures, the flowers. I can't remember if I had to do the urn as well, but I've gotten the bottom portion of the case done, so there's just some stuff. So hopefully, maybe when it comes up again in Whipgo next year, I might get that bottom bit finished. Then there's just the needle book to go with it. So a couple of years might see that one finished. It's being stitched on 32 count summer khaki linen with a mix of Weeks Dye Works and Gentle Arts threads, cottons. Quite enjoyed stitching on that when I was, because it's one that hasn't, I started it in 2020 and up till this year hasn't really seen an awful lot of work on it, so it was nice to move that on a lot. My second Whitgo piece for August, which I hadn't started at the point I last recorded, was Sampler Cove's Quaker Hussif. You can tell how old this is, it's got a proper photo on the front. Sorry about the glare, guys. I'm stitching this on 36 count Navy Beam by Lakeside Linens, using Rose Gloriana in Rosewood, which is the call for, because I was very lucky and I've got the finishing kit that Jackie Duplessis put together for the Quaker Hussif that I got off a friend when she was de-stashing a few years ago, so which is one reason why I got on with this. So when I picked this up, I'd done a bit of the border and I had made a small start at this top motif. I think I've just got some of this bit done. So I've got the top medallion completely finished, taken the borders down, done the first dividing row, put the first row of alphabet in. So all in all, for a week's progress, I was quite pleased, given I was working on a few other things at the same time. I was quite pleased with how far I got on with that. That was, yes. So this was started in 2021, and again, barely had anything on with it. The only thing I will say about this is I'm actually using 2 different shades of rosewood, because while I had some, and I bought some more, the slightly different colour dye lots. So what I'm doing is using the darker dye lot to do the outer border and the lighter dye lot for all the motifs in the middle. And I don't think, I mean, if you know, you can see that it's slightly different, but by consistently using one colour for one, I'm hoping that I think it will work. So yeah, so Sampler Cove, Quaker Hussif. And again, it's nice. I'm really enjoying Whitgo this year. It's the first year I've done it with all my small to medium projects, because it means I'm seeing them all in the year. So those were the smaller projects I worked on for Whitgo, and we'll come on to the larger whips I worked on. So my focus for the large whips was A Breath of Spring by Just Nan. I've loved these seasonal samplers ever since I first started stitching, so it's taken me about 20 years to get around to doing them. So when I picked, so I'm not sure how far I was when I recorded in August. I know you saw this then. I think I was maybe in there, or was I? Yeah, maybe. Because I know in August I've worked from there down, so maybe just the Bluebirds that's new since you last saw it. Thoroughly enjoy working on Just Nan charts. I'm stitching it in DMC with the call for Karen Water lilies. There's some Perlé cottons as well. It's just a soothing stitch, and it's on 32 count Winter Moon linen. I haven't started beading it yet. There's beads to go on. I'll do them at the end. But yeah, very pleased with my progress, getting close to the halfway point on this one now, which is nice. I started this one in 22. So, or was it 21? Can't remember. Might have been 2021. Or no, 2022. So that's a breath of spring. I do enjoy it when my Just Nans come up, even though copyright. This is Just Nan chart number 4, to give you an idea of how long ago it was, and its copyright date is 1992. I've a huge collection of old Just Nan charts, and I still want to stitch them all, so I'm going to have to get moving. So. Right. Also in August, I was working on some samplers with Stash Sampler Stitching with Narissa of Narissa Stitching Lifestyle. It just to, while I was off over the summer, just work on some of my samplers, get them a little bit further, so they're not quite just a tiny bit of a start, and they're a bit further on. So when I recorded last, I was working on Rose Ada Featherstone from Hands Across the Sea, which was an exclusive from Hobby House Needleworks in, I think it was 2022, maybe. Nicola put a date on this one. I'm not sure she did. It was the 2021, and I started it in 2022. Yeah, so when I picked this up, I'd summed the border in across the top, I'd a bit down the side, and I think I'd just gone around the corner. I didn't have I'd just got the green in, and I was working on this motif over here. So I've taken the border. I'm about at the halfway point with the border, certainly on this side, and almost there on this side, filling in the border. I've completed that motif over there. I've completed this one here. Made a start on the next little motif. I only stitched on this for a week, so it's only about 5 hours progress, but it's I did enjoy stitching on Rose Ada. Rose Ada. She's such a bright little girl to work on. Apart from the Valdani thread, I don't know what it is with me and Valdani threads. I have to work with such a short length because I just find it shreds horrendously. But it does look good when it's on. So I'm stitching this one with all the with Hobby House's overdyed cotton conversion rather than the silks, and looking forward to getting some more in on her at some point. I did enjoy working on my samplers over the school holidays when I wasn't working. Just spent a bit of time every morning working, so worked on a different sampler every week. So, you know, most of them got about 5 hours, but that's enough time to show a bit more progress. And again, it means not everything is just a tiny little start anymore. They're just slightly tinier little starts. And the last sampler I worked on for Stash Sampler Stitching was Elizabeth Broadhead by Fox and Rabbit, which I'd started January 23 and hadn't worked on since. It's been stitched on 40 count baked clay by Fox and Rabbit, using a mix of Weeks Dye Works and Classic Colourworks, I went for the overdyed cotton option. I usually do with these exclusives. This was offered as an exclusive through the Homespun Needlework Facebook group. I normally go for the cottons just because it's a bit more affordable, and then it tends to come in under the import, the limit for import duty. You can order up to you can import up to £135 worth of goods, including the postage, which is a not inconsiderable part of the cost of ordering some of these, before you're liable for VAT and tax and an extortionate. And the post office charge about 20 quid just to process your thing, for about 2p's worth of that. So yeah. So when I picked this up, let me put it on my board. She's a big girl. I mostly worked on the border. I'd the top of this flower stitched, and I'd some of the border, but not very far. So I've taken the border all the way along. As you know, I do like to do the borders first, just because they get them out of the way. But I sort of, for every couple of threads I put in the border, I put in a bit on the motif. So I put in that owl, and I made and I got about 2/3 of that that big flower in. I'd say about 2/3, maybe a bit less. I'm doing the big carnation motif in the corner. There's a lot of stitching in Elizabeth. She's a big girl. When she's done, this is the full size of the thing. So it's quite nice to hit a milestone of getting the border all the way across. And then I started coming down this side with the border as well, which I'll probably do next time she gets picked up. So that one still classes as a start, but it's just not quite such a small start. I think I'll do this again next year, because much as I love Sampler September, but with me being back at work, I just don't get the stitching time to stitch on a lot of samplers in September. So I think what I will do again is stitch on samplers in July and August when I'm not working. And these are the threads. So I'm going to pause here, put this lot away, get September's stitching out, and then I shall be right back. Right, I'm back with my September stitching. So I say you've already seen my focus piece. So in September, stitching the first of those 3D pockets on Glastonbury Garden actually took most of the month. Because there wasn't a huge amount, I didn't get a huge amount of stitching time, and there were quite a few evenings when I was just tired and retired to bed with a book. So yeah, so when it came to my Whip Go pieces, I didn't get as much time as they would probably have done normally. Each of them only got 3 or 4 days each, and normally I reckon on giving them at least a good week, but got some progress anyway. So the first of my Whip Go pieces was The Beekeeper by Plum Street Sampling. I bought this when it was a market exclusive back in 2014. It's long since been released by Paulette, so I know it's available. And here is where I've got to. When I picked this up, I was about there on the B-scap. So I am at the top of the B-scap. I just have a couple more rows and the hoop at the top. I had hoped I might get the B-scap finished along with the flowers, but I just didn't get the stitching time, which is a shame because this is a beautiful project and I absolutely love working on it. It's being stitched on some 35 count Northern Cross linen from Northern Crafts using Weeks Dye Works cottons. I started this one in 2020 and it's kind of, I really would like to see get a lot more done on it. It was just unfortunate that it came up in September when my stitching time is somewhat limited, but progress is progress nonetheless. Hopefully next time I pick this up, the biscuit will definitely get finished and I'll get on to the lady or the border. I might actually put some of the border in. I don't want to leave it till last. I don't like leaving borders till last, you might have noticed. So that's the Beekeeper. That was the first Whip Go call for September. My second Whip Go call I was very pleased about because it was sampler September, so it was a sampler. It was Hannah and Lavinia Joslin from Blackbird Designs. This is in the book Honeysuckle Manor, which I think has now been republished by Elmer. I'm stitching this on 36 count Sparkly's oatmeal with the call for overdyed cottons. It's a mix of Weeks Dye Works, Asset Colour Works and Gentle Art. And here is where I'm up to. Again, not a huge amount of progress on this one, but I made some. So this time round I have put in the bird on the other side. So that bird was in and one of the flowers. So again, I've been working on the honeysuckle border because I love that. So I put that bird in, started the mound for the house and started filling that in. Mostly just started taking the flowers in the border all the way up. So further on than I was. So a bit more progress would have been nice, but hey ho. I didn't help myself in September. You'll see why in a minute. So that was Whip Go, and again this will come out in Whip Go next year, and hopefully it won't come up in September, so I should see a bit more progress on it. My large whip for September, I might have juggled things a little bit to make sure a favourite sampler came up, was Mary Betchel by the Scarlet House, which is a sampler I absolutely love. And here is my progress. Clipped on. I am stitching Hannah on 40 count Affogato by Fibre on a Whim, using the call for Belle Soy from Asset Colour Works. And when I picked it up, I'd got the border outlined and I made a small start. I've got a couple of these flowers in. So I mostly worked on getting on the border and finishing off. So this motif is completely finished with the doodads round it. This middle motif is not far off. I've just got to put in some more of the other flowers, and then that is repeated on the other side. But I was trying to get a good chunk of the border done, so that's I'm halfway down this side. and next I'll go all the way across with the border. Yeah, she's a real comfort stitch. So this one not only was Sampler September, it also fed into the Stash Sampler stitching as well. And I absolutely love this red Valsoy. It's called Tulip, and it is a lovely, lovely rich red. Now, September is my birthday month, and it's also Sampler September. So naturally, I decided I needed a new start for my birthday and for samplers, because it was Sampler September. So I put all my kitted samplers on a wheel, spun it, and the sampler that came up was Anne Johnson, which is the current exclusive with Traditional Stitches and Hands Across the Sea. I decided to try stitching Anne on 45 count fabric. It's called Thai Iced Tea, I believe, is the, and I've had to put this one on my skull rods. It's a biggie, as you can see. I made a nice start on it. I made a counting error here and started this border 2 squares too low. However, there's a bit of space underneath, so I'm not frogging it. I was finding stitching on the 45 count reasonably challenging. It reminded me a lot of when I first started stitching on 40 count, when I was doing Dorothy Walpole. So I know it'll just be a case of my eyes adjusting, and once I get my eyes get used to it, I'll be fine. There was a fair bit of back frogging in the border on this side to make sure I got it right, but I'm quite pleased with my little start. I was stitching this in evenings on the weekends, so it did get a bit of little bit of love. And I mean, stitching it using the DMC, again, for the reasons I mentioned earlier, is it just makes the kit more affordable. Again, another nice bright girl. The floss drops I'm using were a present from Bettina at the Great British Sampler weekend. So it seemed appropriate, given I bought this because I saw the model at the Great British Sampler weekend, that I would use those for this. So yeah, this is my new start. So yeah, might not seem like a lot, but I'm quite happy with what I've gotten in. And we'll see how much further I get next time it comes up. So she's going to be another really big girl, I can tell. Yeah. So that was Sampler September. So this is being a very whistle-stop tour because I've got so much to get through. So I'm going to get my October whips together, put September away. There's just too many. Otherwise I would just get, everything would just been too much for a model if I didn't do it this way today. So I shall be back momentarily. Right. And now on to my October stitching, at which point things started picking up after September. So I got quite a bit more done, and I actually, having done one of the pockets, the second pocket stitched up an awful lot quicker. I was also on holiday for last week in October, so I got a bit more stitching done. So we'll start with Whip Go. I've had a finish. Because there's not been a lot of those this year, but this finished one of these. So my finish was the Milk Paint Sampler Thread Keep by Mary Gary Sewing Cabin. This was a kit issued by Kreinik in the Remember the Ladies series, which when they were promoting their new Milk Paint Silk Mori thread. So that is the completed piece. Here's my completed stitching. I can't remember what the fabric is. It's just a piece of random. It will be Silk Weaver from Silk Weaver owners, about 2 or 3 owners back from the original days, because I used, in the early 2000s, I was in the Silk Weaver Fabric of the Month Club. So when I picked this up, I just had this big Quaker motif up the top to finish, the little flowers and this satin stitch up the top. So I got that done quite quickly in a couple of days, 2 or 3 days, which I was really pleased about. So I will finish this as a thread keep eventually, but for the minute it's marinating on the to be finished pile. It won't take me long to finish this as a thread keep when I get going. Just like I say, my finishing time is being spent on this C.A. Wells piece at the moment, and half my problem with that is just deciphering C.A.'s instructions, which were obscure. And these are the colours I used. It came as a thread pack, so you got the chart and half skeins of the Milk Paint silks. So those are the silks. Really quite enjoyed stitching that. I started it in 2019. I'd only got 2 whips left from 2019. I've now down to 1. So we shall see when that gets finished. Maybe not this year for Whip Go, but maybe next year. So my second Whip Go call, I actually took away on holiday with me because it's stitched on even weave, and yeah, it's 32 count Laguna, and I could see that fine in a hotel with just good light. I didn't need magnification, which is the main thing. And it's Remember Me by Indigo Rose, which was another market exclusive way back when. And it's actually a cover for a photo album. Now, I don't need photo albums anymore. So kind of what I'm thinking I might do is when I finish the stitching is make it into a sewing case. I need to have a think about how I'm going to do that, but yeah. So quite pleased with how much stitching I got done. Mainly because my son got sick on one day, so I had to spend an afternoon in the hotel with him. We didn't want to leave him on his own. But I got 1/2 of the case finished. I think this is supposed to be the back. So when I picked it up, I had got the outside border done and I'd got the inside border. So it was a case of just stitching the alphabets, which was why I took it on holiday, because that was nice, easy stitching. And then I made a start on the border for the other half. So yeah, so I'll have to have a think about how I assemble it as a sewing case, particularly because it's got this spine on it. So I shall maybe put a big pin cushion down the middle, and then stuff, because I've got some linen to play with, because it's supposed to sort of wrap round the photo album. So it's just, you see, just sort of slide the photo album into a folder. So I can probably stitch sort of a scissor case and a needle book or something to go in it as well. So yeah, so that's Indigo Roses Remember Me, which I was really pleased with my progress on that one. This was a 2021 start, so I think I last worked on it November last year when I got all the borders done. So this side is a lot more speciality stitching, so it will probably take a bit longer, but yeah, really pleased with that. And it's being stitched with DMC. So, which again made it a really nice project to take on holiday with me. So that's Whip Go. So my large project for October was Bathia from Hands Across the Sea. This, you can buy it now, but it was, when Nicola originally offered this one, it was a class, and I took the class with Nicola back in 2018 at Fobbles. The class, we did a little doodle cloth with a lot of the stitches on, this is actually a reversible sampler. I'm not getting het up on making it reversible. I would rather get it finished, and because I spent 6 years just trying to get the doodle cloth right, and at which point I thought no, stop spending time on that, start spending time on this. So I didn't get a massive amount done. I'm still on the white work band at the very top. I had just started the wrought by when I think I'd got the W in when I picked this back up, and obviously because it's supposed to be reversible, I am taking a bit more care and trying to keep the back as neat as possible. So I finished the second row of the writing, I got the four-sided stitch in, and I got this second row of satin stitch in. That needs a bit more stem stitch. I'm going to take these stem stitch tendrils all the way across, and then that row's finished. So as I commented on Instagram, this Bathia is not a sampler to rush through. Bathia is a sampler to savour. So, but it's nice to just get a little more progress on her. Like I say, she's a big girl. I'm just up here, as you can see from the amount of fabric I've got to play with. I can't remember if this is 36 or 40 count. It is light mocha, and I am stitching it with the Vera Soir that we were given in the class. And I thought I'd channel Laura from Renner and the Serial Starter in my choice of floss jewellery with Grogu there, that we acquired at some point after my daughter went to Euro Disney with the school. So yeah, so nice. So again, it'd be nice to see a little bit more progress, but again, that wasn't the month for that. So there's a couple more things I worked on in October. Very beginning of October, I went over to Fobbles because Beverly organised a stitching day for those of us who'd been to the Catherine Finlayson class. This was, if you remember, I went back in end of May, beginning of June, because Jeanette Douglas was over teaching this gorgeous sampler. We didn't have to work on Catherine, but I took Catherine with me just to see if I could get a little bit further on. And I did. In that I got my border to meet just up. There's a little bit of fudging down in this corner just to make it fit, but nothing that will impact on the design. So I got my border in. Got my border finished. What put a few little leaves in and got a couple of letters in, so I am officially started on the main body of the sampler. This is 36 count fawn from Picture This Plus that we were given in the class. Sorry, that was my water I just knocked over, bottle I just knocked over. And it's being stitched using a Veriswa. I don't have them all on the floss drops yet, because I'm sort of only putting them on when I come to use them in the pattern. So yeah, it's just about 4 hours work, and I got, you know, I was about 3/4 of the way around the border, so yeah, I was sort of just coming around here, so I just finished up when I wasn't chatting or shopping or eating. It was nice just to get a bit further on and feel like I've actually made an achievement having got that border in. So the other whip I worked on, well actually it's got worked on in August and October, was Guardian by Teresa Wensler, which I was working on for the Year of the Dragon Sal. And here is where I got to with Guardian. I've just started working on the dragon. So yeah, this is actually going to go away now because I was working on this one on a Sunday evening, and I need to stitch some ornaments for the kids, and then my plan next year is to stitch smalls on a Sunday evening, so I get some of those, because I have a nasty habit of just starting big projects, and I want to stitch some proper smalls, and I finished all the ones that I had in my on Whip Go. So yeah, so really pleased. So that's about 8 months work on Guardian, and I'm quite pleased, just one night a week, with how far I've gotten with it. I'm about 1/4 of the border in, and maybe 1/8 of the piece across. So yeah, I have to say, looking at it on the camera, it looks a lot better than it does close up, because obviously I'm really close up to it, so you really see, on the camera you can really see the shading in the sky, which isn't always quite so obvious when you're that close to it when you're stitching it, which is always the way with one of Teresa's designs. I've stitched a few of her dragons now, and you need to step back and look at them. So this is being stitched on a piece of 32 count cream even weave on using DMC that came in the kit. It's not the kit material, because if you remember, I ended up having to restart it. So when I picked this up to start to work on it in the Sal, I just had a little bit up in this corner. So I'm really pleased with how much progress I've made this year, and hopefully we'll see it again next year if my decision wheel plays nice. So that's all of October's stitching, so I'm going to put that away, and then I will get November's out, and that will be sort of what I'm currently doing, plus my plans for the rest of the month. Right, and now we're on to my November stitching. As I mentioned at the beginning, I'm still working on Glastonbury Gardens, my focus piece, but I have finished my section for November, finished that last night, so I'm on to my Whip Go stitching. So my first piece for Whip Go is Wandering Shepherd by Shepherd's Bush. Sweet little sampler. I started it last year when I was on holiday, last summer, And this is going to be worked on till the finish because I've only got a small section to do down the bottom of about 5 rows. So this will be a finish this month, and be about my 4th or 5th finish for Whip Go. I'd have to have a look, which I'll take. So yeah, so I picked this up last night. I finished this sheepy row and made a small start on the row beneath. So that won't take me too long to do. So this is being stitched on some 32 count cream linen with silks provided in the kit, because this was a kit. So there's a overdye Gloriana, the rest are soy d'Alger. So yeah, so that's my first Whip Go one. So we're kind of talking plans, and that's what I'm currently working on. So once I have finished Wandering Shepherd, my second Whip Go piece for this month is Life is a Gift, Untie the Ribbon, which was a breast cancer fundraiser that Lois of Now Lady Dot Creates, then Elegant Stitch, put out back in 2012. So I started this in 2022. Lots of little smalls. I have completed the pieces for the monogram, and one half of the scissor case. I am working on the other half of the scissor case, so that should definitely get finished. And then the only other stitching is the needle book. So would be nice to think I could get that finished in November, but we shall see how we go. It may be that it carries over to next year, in which case that's a Whip Go finish for next year. So I'm using it's stitched with a couple of overdyed pinks, green floche and white. So I said on a Sunday I was working on Christmas ornaments for my kids. My daughter's picked hers, the one she wants, out of the 2016 Christmas ornament edition. And the ornament she's hit on is Dragon Dreams, on the 13th day of Christmas. So I just started that last week and have the little tree in. So that'll get worked on again this Sunday, and I should comfortably finish that in November, and then it's a case of finding out what my son would like as his ornament, if he's got a choice, or whether, like last year, he just asked me to choose. I'm using the Call For because I've got most of them. It's a mix of DMC, some Gentle Arts, and a couple of Kreinik. And it's a bit of miscellaneous 28 count fabric from in my stash, just an offcut. My large whip for November that I'm working on at weekday mornings is Hannah Wilson, and I decided I'd pull this one out for Black Sampler November and get a bit more progress in on Hannah, which I started last year for Black Sampler November. Again, this was a kit through the Homespun Needlework Facebook group. It came from Hobby House. It was kitted up by Hobby House. The fabric I'm using is Fox and Rabbit 40 count Eureka. And this is one where I did get the silk thread because it's, with it just being one colour, it is Dinky Dyes. It's called Dirt Roads. So it's more of a sort of browny black rather than a straight black. So since I picked this back up again, it's had a couple of sessions, I've taken the border all the way along the top. I put in from F along there, R and S there, L and M, I don't know, was it K, L and M on that row, and from 6 onwards in the over one numbers at the bottom. So my plan for this month with this piece is to try and see if I can get this top section finished, which is just finish off the capital letters and the lowercase alphabet below and down to the second. We'll see if I can manage that. That's quite a lot of stitching, but we'll see. But it would be nice to complete it all the way across the top and see, because again, quite a big sampler, so getting a bit of solid progress in, but we'll see how that goes. Really enjoying working on Hannah. With it being single colour, it really doesn't require a huge amount of thought, which is quite good because I'm quite tired at the minute. The other thing I've worked on with my new job, I actually get a 2-week half term in October, which is quite nice because my kids are back at school. So because I had an extra week and I wasn't working, I picked another one of my large, though you'll wonder why I call this a large whip, when I out of my stash to work on and just get a little bit of progress on. So the large whip I pulled out was the Summer Schoolhouse series by Brenda Gervais with her needle and thread. I'm calling this large because I have all 4 of the patterns for all of the pieces, and I have them all kitted up. So I'm working on them all till they're done, but I'm only working on lesson 1 at the moment. And I'm doing the over 1 version. Maybe with hindsight I should have gone for the over 2 and 40 like so many other people did, but I'm quite liking the over 1. So this is where I'm up to on lesson 1. So this got about 5 hours on mornings this week, because I could take it a little slower and actually get some stitching time in the morning. So mostly what I focused on was filling in this house. But for every thread I put in the house, I let myself do something a bit more fun, some more fun stuff. So I put the bird in and I put this vine in. One of the reasons I did this is this leaf here dips into the roof. So when I come to do the roof, it's going to be a lot easier than trying to count out where this leaf goes if it's already in. Yeah, so it's nice to see that growing. So I want to get the house done first because the house is the really solid bit of stitching, as you can see from the picture. I'm using all the Call For, which is a mix of Classic Colourworks, Weeks Dye Works and Gentle Arts cotton, overdyed cottons. So yeah, so that will go away, will summer schoolhouse for the time being, until hopefully it gets called sometime soon. I haven't actually worked on this since I started it back in 2022. So yeah, so at which point I'd got just the house outlined and the windows and doors in. So it's nice to, I had hoped to finish filling in this side of the house, but I'm almost there. So I can definitely see the end on that one. Right, I need to pause again, put this away. I do have some stash, but I think actually this video is going to be long enough, especially by the time I put some photos on the end of our holiday in Greece. So I might save all the stash for the next video, which will be at the end of December, so it won't be 3 months worth of stitching. It has been very pleasant to speak to you all again. Again, please do like and subscribe, and leave a comment. I very much appreciate them. As I say, I'm not great at replying all the time. I'm trying to get better. I think I have replied to all the last comments on the last one before I record this one, which is good going for me. Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram. I'm Caroline A. Kemp. Caroline is spelled with a K. I do follow some of the Facebook stitching groups, but my Facebook profile is more family stuff than others, so I don't tend to, unless I know you in person, add you to my Facebook. If I've met you somewhere, that's great, but I do mostly post to stitching groups anyway, so there we go. And I'm on Threads as well. Show notes for the episode will go on my blog, which is carolinescorner.blogspot.com. I do occasionally think I should do more with that space because I've had it for so long. I'm probably coming up to about over 20 years of having had that blog, so I should probably check and see. And again, see if I can do a bit more with it. But again, it's all down to time, isn't it? So I've pretty much described what I'm going to be doing in November. December, the last bit of Glastonbury Garden, what my last 2 WIP Go calls. There'll be another large WIP, I'm not sure which one yet, and there'll be another Christmas ornament. And I'm eyeing up a new start for Christmas, but I think it'll be something that I work on over the Christmas period, and I work till I've finished it. I'm thinking one of the Jeanette Douglas spools that I've got, but we shall see. I haven't quite decided. But I need to tidy up the study so my husband can get up here to play Dungeons and Dragons later, and I will be back around Christmas. We break up the Friday before Christmas, so I can't guarantee it'll be before Christmas. And I will try and get this edited and up within a week rather than several weeks. But I don't promise anything because there's rumours of Ofsted at work, so we shall see. But yes, so take care, and I will see you all around Christmas. Goodbye.